Hello and welcome to Mark Goldbridge channel, The Last Jedi Star Wars review. And it's pretty instant. I lost the top of my head there. Look, I'm a massive fan of Star Wars. I have been since the original trilogy. I'm, into my 30s, absolutely love Star Wars. And I'm reviewing, not a terrible film, I'm reviewing a film with terrible plot holes in it, with terrible, lazy writing in areas that I just don't understand how a massive multi-billion-pound company like Disney can make those sort of mistakes or sanction them. I mean, the way it works, as I understand it in America with these big film companies, it's not one person's decision. It goes through a lot of people. You get rewrites and just big disappointing flaws in it. I mean, there were moments in that film, and I must say there will be spoilers in this, and I'll come to that in a minute, but if you're just wanting to not have any spoilers, the first couple of minutes I'll sort of review stuff without going into detail. But there was a point in that film towards the end where I think it rescued it, and I was like, I'd heard the reviews, I'd heard they were mixed. People I know who I trust had said it's going to blow your mind. It's not. There are some disappointing elements in it. It doesn't really set it up well for the third film. And I was like, yeah, they're right. And then there was one moment in the film towards the end where I was elated. I got that real buzz. I was like, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. It rescues the whole film. The very next scene, they destroy it. And I just think, do they not watch this film and get the emotions of what real Star Wars fans feel about it? And big mistakes. I think my summary would be this. They're trying to build, it's Disney, isn't it? They are trying to build a new franchise that they can run for years and years and years and make money from. And they are changing direction, and they are going down a new path. And for, original Star Wars fans or people who like the originals, there's always, we're disappointed, aren't we? We are disappointed. But Theon's on the way to the cinema now. Look, you're going to enjoy it. You've got to watch it. I certainly don't think it's a terrible film, and I would go and watch it again. But it's not what The Force Awakens was. And that's where I wanted to start, really. The Force Awakens, I felt, was good. It was obviously very reminiscent of A New Hope, and it followed that sort of strand. But there was good elements in it. There was dark elements in it. Obviously, Han Solo died in it. I don't care about spoilers on Force Awakens now. You've had 2 years. Watch the film. So Han Solo died in it, and obviously it sort of set up Snoke, and it set up the New Order, and it set up how the trilogy was going to develop. And I never expected an Empire Strikes Back from the Last Jedi, and it was a good job because the closest thing we got to that was the snow at the end, but I never expected that, and I didn't think that was the way to go, and I thought Force Awakens was probably a little bit too close to A New Hope, but it was a good film, and it set it up really well, with areas that you expected to be answered in the following 2 films and in the final 2 parts of the trilogy. But it's an attempt to modernise Star Wars, Andre. I totally agree with you on that, and they're making it for the new fans. I agree with that, but Star Wars is about the older fans as well, and I took my 10-year-old daughter with me to watch it, and she said exactly that. They're trying to take it into a new direction. I liked the older characters because she's obviously watched all the original films as well. So it was disappointing in that sense, but I think it also was a letdown in relation to The Force Awakens and some of the things that it did around that. And I'm now going to say spoilers because I'm going to go into spoilers here. So if you've not watched it yet, I'll try not to go too much detail, but obviously I'm going to mention stuff, and I want to get a few things off my chest and sort of interact with people who have seen it. So first one, the big red herring in the room is Mr. Luke Skywalker behind me. Obviously, Han Solo dies in Force Awakens. So for the original cast, and we know Princess Leia tragically died in real life. Let's not get up. What the hell was going on with Princess Leia anyway? They had that opportunity to kill her off, and it would have worked really well. And I thought that's brilliant. And then she starts flying through space back to the spaceship. Like bloody Wonder Woman. I mean, what the hell is that? What was that? How was that? She's in space. She's freezing. She's pretty much dead. She opens her eyes back and swims back through space into a doorway, and they let her back in, and then she's back to normal after a couple of hours. That was shocking, and they had an opportunity there. I mean, obviously, when they filmed all the Star Wars, Carrie Fisher was probably still alive, which she was, and she died last Christmas, and they've now got a problem as to how they deal with her in the final film because she was still very much alive at the end of The Last Jedi. Han Solo's dead. Carrie Fisher is dead in real life, and Luke Skywalker is now dead. So the original cast, apart from Chewie, who wasn't really in that film much anyway, was he? He was a bit of a side character like he was in Force Awakens. For me, as an original Star Wars fan, Really disappointed with the way they handled Luke Skywalker, because I thought that my favourite part of the film, the favourite part of the film for me was, and Chris MC says, I've always loved Star Wars as a kid, watched The Last Jedi yesterday, there was a bit in the middle for about 20 minutes where it stretched out and just boring. Yeah, there were some good parts in it, and I do look forward to watching it again. I think the explanations around some things were a bit odd. I liked the interaction between Kylo Ren and Rey and the way they spoke to each other, and I think that worked really, really well. Destroyed by another bit of lazy writing, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the Luke Skywalker thing, my favourite part of the whole film was the duel between Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren, or Ben Solo, whatever you want to call him. And when Luke Skywalker said, "See you around," because obviously it was a hologram and, you know, he was trying to kill him and he couldn't do it, I was like, bang, that's the best bit of the film. That's brilliant. You've set it up brilliantly for the third film now. Luke Skywalker's going to be alive. Kylo Ren is going to be absolutely furious. You've still got Rey, who's developing, and the rebellion needs to fight back, and you've got Luke Skywalker alive. Yes, 2 years' time, I'm bloody loving it. Come on, bring it on. And that was my most elated I was in the whole film. Really, really enjoyed that. The very next scene, we see the real Luke back on his island, and he's obviously very tired from meditating to get himself over to have the hologram face-off with Kylo Ren so the rebellion can escape. And then he just gets back up, a bit tired, and disappears, like Yoda did when he died. And you just think, oh my god, you've just killed Luke Skywalker. And I'm sure he will come back in the third film as a hologram, but hologram or Force Ghost or whatever, nah, I thought that was a real cop-out and very, very lazy. And maybe, you know, I'm sure Mark Hamill will be back on the third film, so why does he have to be a ghost? Why can he not just be, you know, Luke Skywalker and set him up for a proper death? I mean, I just thought it was a real lazy death that didn't need to happen, and I was actually quite happy with how that was going to work, and very disappointed about that. Biggest part of the film, ruined it. I just didn't think there was any reason to do that. The Snoke thing was just bloody lazy. What the hell was all that about? We still don't know who he is, and then he gets, you know, I've seen stormtroopers have better deaths than that. It was just, it was like, what have you done? Why have you done that? So the Snoke dies, as you can understand. Very well mysterious character set up. He's going to be the overarching evil in this film, in The Force Awakens. He's in it in The Last Jedi. You've got a situation where he's in his throne room, surrounded by his red knights who've got different attributes, and Kylo's there and Rey's there, and there's a bit of a standoff, and then Kylo kills him. In a cowardly way, and that's the end of Snoke, as he literally quite, you know, a split personality really at the end. We don't know anything about him. It was flat, and that for me, I mean, I didn't like the way they handled Skywalker, but you can see probably why they did that and thought it was a bad idea. And I just think they've just misread how the audience are going to react to that, because I don't think people were happy with that. But the way they did handle Snoke was just bloody ridiculous. That is lazy writing of the lowest order. To bring somebody in as a big character, a new character, and kill them in a film halfway through and never give their backstory anyway, and we probably never will get it, and even if we do get it, what's the relevance because he's dead? Shocking. I thought that was probably, you know, again, I'll say it again, a good film, 7 out of 10 film, but with some terrible parts in it. And the handling of Snoke was lazy, poor, and I did not like that at all. And also, what worries me about that is that when I come into the third film, I was excited about Force Awakens. I've never been so excited about a film in a long time. I was excited about today when I went to watch it, but not as excited as Force Awakens. But I was excited. I am not, even though it's 2 years away, I am not excited about the final part of this trilogy at all. I'm not. They've killed that. And maybe that's because I'm old school and I like the trilogy of the original characters. But actually, I think it's because of what they did with Snoke. And ultimately, you've got Kylo Ren, who's very conflicted. You know, he struggled to kill his dad. He saved Rey, and he's now back to being evil again. But the idiot who stands next to him and goes, "I'm the First Order." You know, not interested in him. You're not scary. You're an idiot. And the way the film opened with the prank phone call, I mean, God, I didn't like that at all. I don't know what anybody thought about that. So you've got Kylo Ren, who is basically the baddie, who we know is flawed and could turn. There's nobody alongside him, and that's what Snoke was going to be useful for. There is no real fearful enemy. I mean, Kylo Ren, I think, is a bit of caricature baddie. You know, Luke Skywalker mugged him off with the hologram. It's just not. It doesn't set itself up for the third film at all. I just don't find it. they've not got enough baddies, and they've not got enough credible baddies, and that is where it's gone wrong for me. Tiny Mario says 75 says I found it boring. I think they got that really, really badly wrong with Snoke, and I'm surprised that got sign off. I thought it was really poor. I had heard people say that Finn's story was a bit pointless. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind that at all. It didn't stand out to me terribly bad. I like the character Poe, the pilot. I think it's Poe, isn't it? I do like him. I think he sort of became a bit Han Solo-esque in that film. You know, they took him out of the pilot gear and gave him a nice jacket, and I think he was good. Leia, I think they should have just killed her off at the end somehow. I think there was an opportunity there, and it would have been very... I think that, you know, horror. I mean, Princess Leia's a legend, an absolute legend, and whatever her acting has been like in these two films so far, you know, Carrie Fisher, you know, it wasn't terrible. The role worked, and I thought she was better in this film than The Force Awakens. But the tragedy is she's died. And I think that the third film is now such a meh. All right, the rebellion's got to fight back, and it's going to be Rey against Kylo. It just doesn't drag me in enough. I think what could have dragged me in is if in that final act they had killed, you know, Kylo had killed Princess Leia, and you get really frustrated and angry about it, and it pulls you back in for the third film. So yeah, that was frustrating as well. I think also going back to The Force Awakens, if anybody can remember the first scene where Poe's on that planet and Kylo Ren turns up and he kills that old fella, I thought we'd get a bit of backstory what that was all about. No, nothing about that. Wasn't there something about the Knights of Ren as well? Isn't he meant to have some sort of army around him that we saw pictures of in Force Awakens? He's got a select few people around him. Where are they? They could have been something really sinister that we should... Why have we not seen them? They were like really something in The Force Awakens before it came out. We heard about the Knights of Ren or whatever they were called, and there's 6 of them, and they're all top Jedis, and they were like... I think they showed that flashback with Luke when it all went wrong at the Jedi mess thing, and then we get this film and we don't get that. And I've just said a few minutes ago, the problem with this film now is that the bad side, although they've got the numbers, they've got no characters, they've got no fear, they've just got Kylo Ren and which way is he wind going to blow personality next. If he had the Knights of Ren around him, you'd be like, bloody hell, he's Kylo Ren, and he's got 6 sort of Sith Jedi people around him who are going to kick ass, and that would have been more of a draw for the third film. Where are they? We had the flashback to what went wrong between Luke and Kylo Ren, and I thought that was explained quite well. They tried to twist it a little bit that maybe Luke tried to kill him, and then obviously Luke explained he did think about it because he saw all that darkness in him, and then he pulled himself back, but it was too late, and Kylo attacked him. So that worked quite well. But where's the Knights of Ren? Where is the Knights of Ren? That would have set it up nicely for the third film. I think, in fairness, The Last Jedi stands as a film itself quite well. It's quite self-contained. It doesn't really set it up with any cliffhanger into the third, which I think was a mistake. But I think The Force Awakens is a better film, and I think The Force Awakens set me up for something that wasn't delivered in The Last Jedi at all. I thought Force Awakens had some comedy moments, which Star Wars always does, but it was quite dark, especially around the death of Han Solo, and it worked. And I could go back. I'll probably go back and watch that film tonight. I thought it was really good. I've got no appetite to go back and watch The Last Jedi. I don't think there was any real moment in it that was like, oh, pull me back. There were just moments. You know, Snoke's death was a moment. Luke Skywalker's death was a bit of a cheap sell. It didn't work. There was that elation when he was a hologram and he said, see you later, because you haven't killed me. And then we go back and he just turns into a cloak. I thought that was poor. So it's not a rewatchable film. I thought it was a 7 out of 10 film. I thought it was good with some very, very bad parts in it. But I think ultimately they are setting us up with the younger characters, the Kylo Rens, the Rey, the Finn, the Poe, and all these other new people that are coming along. They're setting it up. I don't think the next film's going to be the last we see of these characters. I think there'll be another trilogy, and I think it will grow and grow and grow, because that's what Disney want to happen. But the problem with that is you've got to consistently pull out good films, and I think they got away with it. Force Awakens. I did like Rogue One, even though that's obviously not part of this trilogy. But I think with The Last Jedi, they probably turn off a lot of original Star Wars lovers like me and many of you lot, and I've lost interest now. And I will go and watch the next film, but I've lost interest. And if that last film doesn't deliver, and you lose a little more interest, then eventually that fire will go out, and it'll be like, you know, I'll use an analogy here. Only Fools and Horses, I absolutely loved it. They finished the trilogy with them walking into the sunset as millionaires, you know, which they'd always aspired to be. They came back with 3 more episodes, and you more or less end up ignoring them, and that's the danger. That's the danger. Movies, TV, Mad Mick minus says, couldn't agree more. It looks and feels like how a Star Wars film should, but we can't hide from the decisions they made Rian Johnson, Disney trusted him. Oh boy, this was a filler movie. And we need some Jedis in our midfield. Stop talking about football. I don't want to do that. We need. I think they will make the third film like 10 years later, where she is dead, and they are rebuilding the Jedis. Says Chris MC. That is a very good point about Princess Leia. I think they maybe will do a jump into the future. That would work quite well. I never watched a single Star Wars or Star Trek movie. Haven't seen Star Wars yet, says Pratik. This movie has the whiff of the Lego Star Wars, more focused on the kids, says Andre. Good point. Prank phone call was funny, says Tiny Mario, or maybe not. Christmas party tomorrow, yes, Cathal, that will be good. Movie isn't the best according to Mad Marcus and Mark, says Fortune Y2. What I would say about the movie is, go and watch it. I would not say it was a stinker by any means. I wouldn't. I just think Star Wars fans are very hard to please, and we've got things that... Look, I think that film made 2 glaring errors that are unforgivable, but beyond that, it was okay. I thought Benicio del Toro's role was confusing as Forrest Whitaker in Rogue One. That was just weird, and I thought Benicio del Toro, however you announce his name, you know, he sort of comes in. There was a bit of a filler. I mean, somebody said there was, you know, the Finn thing was a bit odd. How he went to that planet to get the help to get into the ship and all that, and it backfired on them. And there was just no. That's what I don't like. I mean, obviously I do the United Stand, and I've done things in the past. And creativity and storytelling is, you know, it's not rocket science. And I think that they you know, for such a big budget, I don't know how a couple of them decisions were made. I don't really know how they were made. And surely people watch these films and go, that really worked well. But you know what? That bit where Luke Skywalker's a hologram and he goes, wow, that was brilliant. Why did you kill him in the next scene? Why did he get killed off in the next scene? That was ridiculous. Keep him. And the Snoke thing, I think that is the worst bit ever. How the hell has that happened? Poor writing. Waste of time. It's almost as well... Empire Strikes Back, and I did read this, sorry. Last Jedi, for me, is almost as if you don't need to watch Force Awakens because we're mugging you off. You know, even the end of Force Awakens, where it's really epic, she goes up to the top of the island, she hands Luke the lightsaber. They pick that up, not in the first scene of the film, but they do pick it up, and it's literally, there's your lightsaber, and he picks it up and throws it away and walks off. And I think that's quite symbolic in many ways in relation to this trilogy and where it's going, because what they're basically doing is forget the old. It's all about the new now, and they keep spreading that message again and again and again. Forget the old, out with the old and in with the new. And I think, stupid. That might be a mantra, but that's really stupid, because most Star Wars fans, and I wasn't even born when the first one came out. The first one I went to watch was Return of the Jedi, and I was very young, but I grew up with those films. I'm still in my 30s. I've got 20, hopefully, might have 5 minutes, but you know what I mean. A lot of Star Wars fans are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So they've got 20, 30, 40, 50 years more of watching these films. So to go out with the old, in with the new on the second film of a new trilogy is massively naive. Massively naive. I think they've tried to do it too quick. They've tried to get rid of the old and bring the new in too quick. And that's where they've gone wrong. And I think also they've sort of mocked Force Awakens and mugged us off in some of the setups that they did. They didn't deliver. Snoke was just a false dawn. It almost makes, when you watch Force Awakens now, redundant, because there's so many things in it that don't mean anything. In fact, it's terrible. That is bloody poor writing. There are so many things in Force Awakens that now, if you watch Force Awakens, you'll be cheapened. You'll feel like an idiot, because you're like, none of this actually matters, does it, in the next film? The only thing that from Force Awakens really matters now is obviously that he killed Han Solo, which, you know, if they mugged that off, I'd be very, very disappointed with. But even Rey's parents, they're nobody. You know, Rey's parents and Snoke were the big things from Force Awakens, and they've been killed off in that film, Last Jedi. They're two things that could have gone in definitely throughout the trilogy and should have done, but beyond that. But Rey's just the daughter of two poor people who sold her to fund a drug habit or drink habit or something. Well, some anyway, they were dropouts. And Snoke is nobody, and you'll never know who he was, because we're just going to kill him off in a crap way in this film. And those two things, for Disney and the writers and everybody who signed it off, are shocking. And who was the testers? Who were the people who watched this film and actually you know, they should be sacked as well, because they obviously just went, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. It's not. There's some really good elements in it, but I feel I could write a better Star Wars than that, and I think every one of you could, and it'd be a lot darker. It'd be a lot better. And the thing is as well, it's so bloody frustrating because they actually got so close. It's a bit like Manchester United, isn't it? We beat Watford and Arsenal away in 2 really tough games. We get those to get a shot at Man City at home, and then we blow it. And Last Jedi is like that. They do so many good things, and then they blow it with just unnecessary mistakes. And as I said, for me, the best part of that film is when Kylo Ren and Luke Skywalker going head to head, and the fact that he's not really there, it's a hologram, and it just totally mugs off Kylo Ren. You think, brilliant, this is set up for the next film. Luke Skywalker's going to be in it, and then the very next scene, he's tired and disappears like Yoda and dies, and you're just like, oh God. You know, there's no Vader. I mean, obviously there was never going to be any Vader, but there's not really much reference to Vader. Whereas in The Force Awakens, when he's got the mask, I loved that. And as I said again, I think Where Are the Knights of Ren? That worked really, really well, really, really good. Well, anyway, let's take some of your comments. They should do a movie on Luke and how he completes his training, says Christopher White. And will you play FIFA on this channel, Fortune? Yes, I will. I'm going to put all the videos from FIFA onto this channel as a playlist from That's Football, and then I will carry it on here, so that will happen. What was the best Star Wars film, says Jonathan Santiago? I think Empire Strikes Back is always going to be the best, isn't it? Yes, this is my channel. This is Mark Goldbridge channel, so I'll do stuff on here that I just feel like doing, and I think this is quite a big film at the moment. It's quite iconic, so I just felt like doing a review on it. They need to have more lightsaber fighting, says Christopher White. Can't beat the originals, Chris MC. Vader made the whole series, says Vif Gull, and Dr. Chunky Biscuit. I only spoke about football just to use it as an analogy, because I know a lot of people on here do support United because they know me from the United stand. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Star Wars Last Jedi. 7 out of 10. A good film that I would go and watch. I wouldn't go and watch it again. Rogue One I watched twice, and Force Awakens I watched twice. This one I will not watch again in the cinema, because there's not enough to go back for. As a self-contained film, to watch it once, I'd definitely say go and watch it if you like Star Wars. Make your own mind up. You might think it's really good. You might like the fact that it's going in a new direction. I didn't like what they did with Luke Skywalker. I didn't like what they did with Snoke. I didn't like what they did with Rey's parents. And I didn't like the fact that these Knights of Ren, which could have been really good, because the enemy in Star Wars may well have the numbers, but they've got nothing that makes me scared. The rebellion, they don't have hardly anybody left, but they've got lots of characters that you can sort of relate to. The baddies, they've got Kylo Ren, and like I say, he's a bit of a joke, isn't he? I personally think, and just very quickly, what I would have done is I would have changed. I think the way that film would have worked a lot better would have been if Kylo turned to the good side when that went off with Snoke, and then Snoke obviously reveals more baddies for the 3rd film, and it gets massive and goes into a massive film. I think they went the wrong way, but that's my thought. Thanks everyone watching. Lots of things planned on this channel. The next thing will be the Christmas party for the United Stand, which we are hosting on this channel. That'll be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Get on the United Stand for more details about that. But do get commenting below. I really appreciate that this video, some people will be watching it today over the next few days, and you might have avoided it. That's why I put spoilers out in the title. But do get commenting below and give us your thoughts. I want to see what people think, because you might totally disagree with me, you might agree, you might think they did well, you might just think it's just an okay film or whatever. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a like on there. But thanks everyone for watching, and I'll speak to you all later on the United Stand at 8 or tomorrow night on here for the Christmas party. Speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.